Hello everyone and welcome to a very special edition of Sportlight. This is our year-end edition, our Athletes of the Year show, the 6th annual Athletes of the Year show on Sportlight. Glad you could join us. I'm Eric Nelson, back after a week off, and let me introduce to you the two gentlemen who have joined me all season long on Sportlight, and we'll wrap it up today as we'll talk about our Athlete of the Year candidates. And that is John Martins of the York County Co-Star and Joe Halpern of the Biddeford Journal-Tribune. And gentlemen, I don't think I've ever seen you look better.
I've never felt better, but
me neither.
I got to tell you, I had to really dig into my wardrobe to find this stuff. So
Okay, now
you know it's a special day.
I was glad to see at the set John was left in one piece after you hosting it last week. Nothing was taken from the set, or
The objects that were thrown at me went off that wall, so we did a little patchwork, but we're all set.
I'd like to thank you for doing that last
No
week,
problem.
and also thanks to Keith Pheasant for coming by and helping us out last week on Sportlight. As I mentioned, we're going to talk about our Athlete of the Year candidates in this half of the program, and then in the second half of the program, we'll be bringing on our two Athletes of the Year, male and female athletes, and I'll be interviewing them and presenting them with their Athletes of the Year plaque. That's coming up in the second half of today's Sportlight. Once again, kind of the ground rules here on this show. We choose from the 4 local schools that we cover here at TCI of Southern Maine, and that, of course, is Wells, York, Noble, and Biddeford. So we're picking senior athletes from just those 4 schools, and the criteria is outstanding athletic accomplishment during their senior season, preferably a 3-sport athlete, and it's gone that way through the years. We've chosen just 3-sport athletes as our Athletes of the Year, but something that has vanished on the scene, if we get a brief comment on that quickly, the lack of 3-sport athletes now. In contacting the athletic directors at all of these schools, and you guys see it during the course of the year, the 3-sport athlete has definitely declined over the years.
Yeah, I think it's been a case of more specialization for the kids, particularly the kids who are better in one sport than another. You know, the summer commitments, kids have a lot of people pulling basketball, you know, field hockey. You get a lot of pulling and tugging in the summer, and I think kids nowadays are making the choices and trying to choose what they like the most and perhaps what they might have the chance to play at the college level.
Joe, I imagine you've seen the same thing.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it has to do with plain old-fashioned burnout. I mean, these kids are working so hard. Now what you're seeing, I think, in high school sports is kids that are preparing a lot more for their seasons. And, you know, they'll take a break. They'll see a season, one of the seasons, and say, okay, this is a chance for me to do some of the other things I want to do in life and get away from it, because it really does become a real time commitment after school. You know, these kids get home after dinner, and then they got to do some homework, and then they get some sleep. So I think it's just a case of trying to buy some time.
Yeah, we'll talk to both of our athletes about that, how difficult it is to play 3 sports in high school in this day and age. But just because the number of 3-sport athletes has declined does not mean that we didn't have a good crop to choose from this year, and we have chosen 2 outstanding athletes to win this year's award. Let me go over the winners of this award in past years. We started back in 1989. Let me go through the female winners of this award. First off, it was Shelby Marshall from York High School. In 1990, another York High School graduate won the award. That was Carrie Goslin. In 1991, Jen Wheeler from Noble High School was the winner. In 1992, we went back to York once again. Kristen Briggs was our recipient. In 1993, Bonnie Copengay of Biddeford won the award. Now for the boys, back in 1989, it was Nate Dingle of Wells, who was attempting to start a professional football career with the Washington Redskins. Ray Magnet from Biddeford won in 1990. Jason LaRiviere, current USM baseball star from Biddeford, won in 1991. Chris Cody, also of Biddeford High School, won in 1992. And in last year from Sanford High School, when they were a part of our cable system, the award was won by Chris Kumka. And as I mentioned, we will announce the winners in just about 15 minutes here on Sportlight. First off, let's talk about some of the candidates, some of the athletes that we had a chance to see, and some athletes who had outstanding seasons. Let's start with the girls first. John, you're on the Wells beat. Give us some Wells names and some senior girls who had outstanding years.
I think the first couple names that come to my mind, and they come almost together, are Becky Nickerson and Christy Clark. Becky, a 3-sporter this year, switched to field hockey from girls soccer and had an outstanding season as a first-year player there. And obviously one of the better softball players we've seen in the state. She's a great shortstop. She'll be heading to Colby College on a full scholarship, academic athletic scholarship. And she's strong. And you look at Christy Clark, a McDonald's All-Star in basketball as a senior. Really, both Becky and Christy started to help the basketball team turn itself around a little bit this year. It's kind of too bad they don't have another year to play. Christy, also a pretty strong soccer player, and had a great year in softball for Jay Audette at first base. Those two girls come to mind right away. Jen Bolduck, another girl who played 3 sports for Wells, a pitcher for the softball team, and a strong field hockey player, and also chipped in nicely to the basketball team. Those are the 3 minds that immediately come to mind.
And I know there's another athlete that, in talking to some people, Amanda Golden, who maybe played some sports that didn't get as much ink maybe as some of the others, played field hockey, was an all-star there, and also participated in indoor and outdoor track, another athlete.
Yeah, she was an all-conference field hockey player and just a strong player for Wells. And you know, track doesn't get a heck of a lot of the respect and reputation that it deserves, but she was one of the better distance runners that Wells had this year.
Yeah, and by the way, Becky Nickerson won the Flaherty Award as the outstanding female athlete at Wells High School for this season. So those are some of the Wells athletes that we really concentrated on. Joe, we take a look at Biddeford, and kind of an interesting situation up there. I think Biddeford, and it goes in cycles, and it does this all the time. Biddeford's stronger athletes tend to be the underclassmen. You think of a Cheryl Saucier, she is only a junior. Many other fine sophomore and junior athletes. Little slim pickings at senior athletes, but still there were some good senior female athletes at Biddeford this year.
That's right, Eric. 2 names that came to my mind right away that I wrote down were Erin Dion and Tina Erickson. Erin Dion was a track star, indoor and outdoor, did the shot put and the discus, and scored consistently well throughout both seasons. And Tina Erickson was a three-sport star, which is a little bit rare at Biddeford this year. There weren't a lot of girl 3-sport stars. She competed in field hockey and was a big part of their field hockey. I like to call it a dynasty, because for the last 3 years they were always right there, and they were one of the favorites, and not too long ago they won a state championship, and I believe she played on that team. In the winter, she did indoor track and was a miler, and in this last spring she played on the softball team and was in the outfield. And even though they had a tough season, you know, I think it's still she deserves credit for playing on that team and for contributing.
Yeah. The interesting thing here, we have such a short amount of time to talk about a number of athletes. We've really tried to limit it to the cream of the crop here, really the athletes who, 3-sporters. There are a couple of 2-sporters you'll hear in there, and that's because they are very special athletes in their own right. Another 3-sport athlete, maybe not a standout in all 3 sports, but someone who participated in 3 sports for a number of years in Biddeford was Janine Bolia, and remembered for playing on a couple of playoff basketball teams for Biddeford, but she's another one of that dying breed of 3-sport athletes. John, let's go back to you and take a look at York. And York traditionally has had strong female athletic programs. They've won this award 3 times in the past 5 years. Again, a strong crop this year.
Yeah, you can see the athletic dominance just by looking at the number of state championships and the awards the programs have won. You have to start with a duo here, and one of them a 2-sporter. I think you have to mention Andrea Little and Joanna Brown. Joanna, just a strong basketball player this year. One of the major reasons for their success in the championships, her inside play. You know, a great player on the soccer team. She helped her team all the way to the Western Final there, and one of their main threats in softball. Andrea Little, 2-sport captain, great leader for this program. She had played softball earlier in her career and decided to drop that last year to focus on basketball. And I don't think you'd have much of an argument for her as one of the top 2-sporters in the area. You look at Jessica Martell as well, a 3-sporter, a cross-country runner, a good player on the basketball team, and really surprisingly solid softball player. And there's a couple of other, 2-sporters like Becky Sama, who's a great athlete. Actually, she would probably be a 3-sporter because she played ice hockey. Stepped out and played in the boys' venue, and that takes a lot of courage as well. But you could name a bunch of 2-sporters as well in that school, just loaded with talent.
Yeah, and really those 3 of those 4 athletes that you mentioned, all of them recipients of numerous all-conference, all-league awards. I mean, too many to really mention at this time, but the York program has been strong for a number of years. I do know for a fact that Joanna Brown is going to USM to play basketball, and maybe softball, and Andrea Little has chosen Bowdoin, where she will attempt to play soccer and basketball there, so good luck to both of them. Joe, over at Noble High School, the one big standout there, really Paula LaFrance, who's a top 10 student at Noble. She was a captain of the field hockey and softball teams, also participated on the basketball team, and was first team SMAA in field hockey, so she's probably the most outstanding athlete that we have at Noble High School. A couple of others, Jenny Merrill, who participated in field hockey, was the most improved player there, and was the captain of the gymnastics team and the softball team at Noble High School. And Kerry Scanlon, an outstanding two-sport athlete at Noble High School, was the MVP for Terry Nelson's basketball team and was a very solid field hockey player. So are there any other names that maybe we have missed along the way that we can think of, or is it time to move on to the boys?
Let's turn that page.
Let's turn that page. Okay, as time is winding down, we're getting very close to announcing who the recipients are of our Athletes of the Year, and we will be back with that in the second segment of Sportlight. The clock says in just about 5 or 6 minutes, so we're getting real close here. For the boys, let's start off in Wells, John.
Well, you look at Wells, and you know, I think you have to start with guys like Dan Bothwell and Guy Coombs. Bothwell, coming off of an injury in football the year before, all he does this season is come back, win the Campbell Conference Award as Class B's best player in football, goes undefeated in wrestling, wins a state championship, and helps out with the baseball team in the spring. So not too shabby of a year for him. Guy Coombs, again, a good leader in football. Obviously a tough way for his career to end in football, but rebounded from that injury in the state championship game, contributed nicely to the basketball team, and was one of the top infielders in the state this year. Those are the two names that spring right to my mind immediately for Wells.
I know there was one more, Jason Brickett, the three-sport athlete, football, over 100 wins in wrestling, was a state finalist 4 years in a row, unfortunately never won the state title, was a runner-up each of those years, and also played on the baseball team. He's another three-sport athlete.
Jason's as close to a state champion in wrestling as you can come. He just was in the tough weight divisions all through his career. But over 100 wins is quite an accomplishment. Yeah,
Joe Biddeford, traditionally very strong male program. They have won this award 3 times in the past 5 years. Who do they have this year?
Oh, they have lots of people. The first name that came to my mind was Keith Grenier. I know he only played 2 sports, but what he did in those 2 sports was outstanding. Football, he set a school record for touchdowns, leads the team to the state championship. Really the backbone of that team and its offense, explosive offense. And then in the baseball season this last spring, what I saw from him as a catcher, he started last year, but I thought he improved tremendously. The things that I was seeing both defensively and offensively. And then another couple of names that came to my mind were like Jason Crapo, who does play 3 sports, but had the misfortune of having injuries plague his seasons. In football, even though he made the all-star teams and he was an outstanding center, he missed a few games during the season with some back injuries. And then we know what he did in the baseball season. He misses the first half of the baseball season, comes back and leads the team in home runs and all types of categories. So he was just an outstanding athlete. In track and field, he placed in the shot put in the indoor season. As far as 3-sport stars at Biddeford, I wrote down Andy Pepin, who played football. He was a receiver. And then he was in track for both the indoor and the outdoor season, and was, during the outdoor season, a regional and league champion in the discus. And another athlete that I should mention is Grady Bollier, who had, he missed the football season, he missed the indoor track season, but he came back and he had an outstanding track season in the outdoor season and showed that he is probably one of the best athletes at Biddeford. And the kid that I came up with who really struck me was Jason Tremblay, 2-sport star, quarterback of the football team, hockey leader, scoring leader for the hockey team, and he was another athlete who had a lot of injuries during the season. And anybody that saw that South Portland football game, and saw him on the field and was praying that he would get up, knows that this kid is a tough kid, and he's a winner, and I just wanted to mention him.
Yeah, so a lot of good candidates from there. Unfortunately, the clock against us here a little bit. John, talk to us about some candidates from York.
I think, as in some of the other schools, York's talent might be at the lower levels, but there are some good seniors. Bill Frappier, a 3-sporter, known mostly for his hockey prowess, but competed in track. And you got Jess Knox, who had a pretty competitive season in tennis this year, first time playing a lot of varsity tennis. Good hockey player, but really known for his ability in soccer. And then you've got Billy Heisler, who played a little basketball in the winter and also starred on the cross-country team. and was a factor in the state meet. Those are the three kids that immediately come to mind for me.
Yeah, and as far as Noble is concerned, no three-sport athlete candidates here. We may have had some if it weren't for some injuries. Sonny Ecker, maybe the most outstanding athlete at Noble High School for the boys, is a Lobster Bowl selection off of their football team. Hurt his back during basketball and didn't see a lot of time there, but was still a member of the team. Ryan Merrick, a football player, won the Coaches Award, an outstanding wrestler. And Louis Dubois, who participated on the football team and was also a wrestling state champ at 130 pounds. Those are some outstanding two-sport athletes at Noble High School. That's pretty much the list that we've had to work with, the list that we've been contemplating, choosing our winners from over the past month. One thing that we've done differently this year, in the past, we never mentioned the athletes in the first half of the show. Today we have mentioned them. So you have heard their names. There are no hidden names here. You've heard the names of our winners already, and we will announce them in just a few moments. But before we do that, I would like to say thanks to John and Joe. 40 weeks, it's a long time. It's a commitment to be here week after week. And guys, it's been a lot of fun, and I really look forward to seeing you two again in September.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Looking forward to it.
Okay, that's going to wrap up the first half of Sportlight, our year-end show. We'll be back in just a moment as we talk with our Athletes of the Year right after these messages.
Babies love being born at York Hospital. All of these babies did.
And welcome back to the important part of our Sportlight show today, our end-of-the-year special, our Athletes of the Year program. And we'd like to thank you for joining us for this program. As we mentioned to you, the two athletes who will be honored this afternoon were mentioned in the first half of our program. And now we'll get on with our plaque presentation. But first, just a few words about each of the athletes that I'll be talking to in just a moment. First off, our female athlete of the year helped lead her team to four state championships and numerous Western Maine championship appearances. She played on 2 state basketball championship teams, 2 state soccer championship teams, and was also named the Michael Dorenzo winner for the outstanding athlete in this year's Western Maine basketball tournament. Was also named to the McDonald's All-Star team and was voted as one of the top 5 female basketball players in the state. And without further ado, let me introduce to you our Female Athlete of the Year for 1993-94. It is York High School graduate Joanna Brown. Joanna, congratulations. We have a plaque from TCI of Southern Maine acknowledging you as our Sportlight Athlete of the Year. Congratulations,
Thanks.
Joanna. And for our Male Athlete of the Year, a young gentleman who has won 2 individual state wrestling championships in 2 different weight categories, and also led his football team to 2 Western Maine championships over the past 2 seasons. He is also an outstanding 3-sport athlete for his school, and he is the second recipient from his school to win the award. From Wells High School, our Male Athlete of the Year for 1993-94 is Dan Bothwell. Dan, congratulations. We also have a plaque for you, significant of being our Athlete of the Year. Thank you, Dan. And to both of you, congratulations on a great senior season and a great career at Wells and York High School. Let me ask you first, something that we talked about in the first half of the show with John Martins and Joe Halpern, the difficulty of playing 3 sports in high school. Let me start with you, Joanna. How tough was it for you? I know that I believe you did it through all 4 years of high school.
Yep.
How hard was it for you to play 3 sports?
Well, my first 2 years, I didn't really take school seriously, and I was doing sports, and I was concentrating more on those. But I think that my second 2 years, I really started working harder, and I realized that you really have to be focused and concentrate and making sure you get your priorities straight, and so you can arrange your time well and get things going for you. Because if you don't have a schedule, then it's really tough to do, and you can lose track of what's important, and it's always good to get your education first.
Yeah, Dan, I noticed you were nodding your head as Joanna began to answer. How difficult was it for you to play 3 sports in high school?
It was, I don't know, like my freshman, sophomore year, it really wasn't that bad because, like her, I didn't concentrate on my grades that much at first. And then our schedules got changed to 4 classes a semester. So it made it a lot easier, I think, on people that played 3 sports because you only had 4 classes to worry about. And it really didn't take that long. You had 80 minutes class, so you get to do most of your homework during class.
Did you find that you really had to budget your time? I mean, you practiced virtually every day. I mean, you have to figure, well, I've got practice, I've got to get a bite to eat at home, and then I've got to study the rest of the day?
Basically, that's exactly what you had to do. Usually when I woke up in the morning, I'd sit here and think, oh gosh, am I going to have a lot of homework tonight? And, you know, when I get home from practice, I have to do this and I have to do that and get to bed so I can sleep and do well in a game or something. But, yeah, you really have to think about what you're going to do when you start off the day.
Was it the same thing for you, Dan?
It was like my junior and sophomore year, but my junior year I broke my leg and that gave me a lot of time off. I got to work on my grades. And then my senior year, I don't know, I kind of like blew it off mostly. But I got my work done and everything, but
Yeah.
if I could have done it over again, I would have worked harder on my grades.
Let's talk about adversity. I guess you mentioned breaking your leg, Dan, and to refresh our viewers' memories, you broke that against Mountain Valley in the Western Maine football game, championship game, not this past fall, but the fall before. How tough was that? I mean, you're headed to a state championship game, the first time Wells has been there in a long time, I guess, and how tough was it to sit on the sidelines for that state game?
During the game, it just killed me. I wish I didn't even go to the game. It was just, I didn't even want to watch it, but if we would have won, it probably would have been different. It's just, it was like so hard for me. And then wrestling, I couldn't wrestle at all, and that like really killed me because I won states the year before, and I was just, everybody was expecting me like to come back and win states, but I never got to wrestle.
Did that drive you even more, your senior year, realizing that, hey, I'm going to get a chance to play the whole football season, I'm going to get a chance to wrestle this year?
I was hoping, because you never know what happens. And during wrestling season, I don't know, like the first 2 weeks, it was like I have to win. It was like a pressure on me, I thought, I don't know. It like almost lost my drive for me because it was like if I didn't win, people would look down on me because I've won before and they were expecting me to win. But during the season, it got easier and I had more fun.
Yeah, how was it in football? I mean, 2 years ago, everyone knew that Wells had a good team, and this year you had lost some valuable seniors to graduation. Was it a little more of a surprise this year that you made it back to the state game?
I told everybody during preseason that we were going to make it back there, but that was just me. And I'm glad I got a chance to play in the game, but it would have been a little better if a guy didn't get hurt in the game this year. It was like, I don't know, 2 years in a row, like two of the better athletes on the team couldn't play together on the same team.
Yeah. We talked about it on the show after that game. That was kind of an interesting game in itself, and we could talk a whole half hour on the fact that Winslow were winning 55-0 or something like that. As a player, how was it to sit through something like that?
I don't know. It didn't hit me till after the game. I was just like, I kept talking to the guys like, come on, we gotta keep playing, keep trying. And like after halftime, I was like, the Buffalo Bills, when they came back to beat Houston, I was like, we can do that. And after they scored 2 more touchdowns, it just kind of killed us. And after the game, it just hit me and I started crying.
Yeah, naturally, it doesn't diminish the accomplishments of the team. I mean, win back-to-back Western Maine championships is quite an accomplishment in itself. Yeah. Joanna, you overcame, I guess, a different type of adversity a little bit. I guess more of the disappointment of a loss more than anything else. You had won the basketball state championship in 1992. You played Kennebunk in the Western Maine final in '93, and everyone's saying, geez, this is a team that could win 2 in a row. With everybody coming back the year after, they could win 3 in a row, which is very rarely done. When you lost in '93, was that just more of an incentive to come back this year and win it again?
Definitely. It definitely was. A lot of us were really heartbroken, and we did in the locker room. We were all upset, and I'm sure that every one of us was thinking how next year we know we're going to be up against them. They're going to be really good, and how we really wanted to win, and we wanted to win them good, and play them in the tournament and show them that we are better this year and get things even.
And you certainly proved your point
did.
by winning the state championship again. As the two of you look back, you've been involved in so many games over the past 3 or 4 years. Is there a memorable moment, or is there anything that stands out in your mind as you leave high school and move on to college? Boy, that's the one thing I'll really remember.
I'd have to say the whole Western Maine tournament in basketball this year. It was always my dream to cut the net down. And I got the opportunity to, and I love that. And just the 5 seniors, we've been playing together so long, and to go out winning states in basketball, which is one of my favorite sports, it was really the best feeling in high school that I had.
Dan, any memorable moments for you?
Besides breaking my leg, my sophomore year when I won states, it seemed like that day went so easy for me. It was the first tournament I pinned everybody in, and I don't know, it's just something made me wrestle so much better.
Yeah, we should also mention that Dan was voted the outstanding wrestler in Class B by the Officials Association in the state of Maine, which is quite an honor as well to be recognized in that light. Future plans, Joanna, where are you going to be headed off to?
I'm going to go to the University of Southern Maine, and I'm going to play basketball, and I'm thinking about softball, but it depends on how I can schedule my time, like we were talking about in college with my grades and basketball. So we'll see what happens.
Dan, where are you headed in the fall?
I'm going to Norwich University in Vermont.
Okay, and to play football?
I plan on playing football, and if my grades go good, I'll play baseball.
Yeah. As you look back now, high school, to us older folks, it may seem like a long time ago to some of us, but it goes quickly. Once you look back, it's like, wow, 4 years are done. Is there any advice that you could give to maybe some junior high school kids or some kids who are maybe freshmen and sophomore who hope to attain, you know, an award like this or to have the success that you have had? Is there anything you can tell them?
I think that you really have to concentrate on staying focused and live up to your expectations and not the expectations of others, because believing in yourself is what's going to make you a great athlete and good sportsmanship.
Dan, any advice?
Well, besides working on grades and stuff, my coach told me that, like, when you're not in the weight room, somebody else is, and if you really want to do something, you have to be in there as much as possible. Just keep the ability up and keep the strength up, because it seems now like everybody's getting so much better, and it's a lot harder to just compete in the sports.
Yeah, obviously there's a lot of inner drive that's involved. Like you said, Joanna, you have to believe in yourself to be successful, but I think you need people to help you along as well, and I know both of you have played for some great coaches at both of your schools. Is there any people maybe in your life, coaching, personal-wise, family-wise, who have really helped you along, someone maybe you would like to take the opportunity to thank?
I'm really thankful for my parents. They've always supported me. And in basketball, or a lot of times in all sports, I had a temper, and I wasn't in control out there. And Mr. Clark, especially in basketball, he really helped me learn to keep my cool and concentrate on the game and not what's going on, like people talking to me and stuff. And helped me to stay focused and keep on task, and so I could keep on scoring baskets and not get angry or upset. And a lot of my success my senior year was due to that, and it was also a lot of doing from my teammates. And I want to thank them, because that's what made me so good this year.
Dan, is there anyone that you'd like to single out?
Yeah, one person, Mr. Lear, my wrestling coach, because I don't know, my freshman year I wasn't even going to wrestle. He talked me into it. He said, "Yeah, I'll get you in shape for baseball." Then I found out it was the worst thing for baseball, but that's besides the point. He was just, because my attitude, like if I was winning and something happened, I'd just like blow up. I can't stand losing, and he helped me out a lot. And then Mr. McDonough in football helped me out really a lot.
All right, well, to both of you, we'd like to congratulate you once again on being chosen as our Athlete of the Year. You'll have a little nameplate in the TCI Wall of Fame here at our office, and good luck to both of you in the future.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Joanna Brown and Dan Bothwell, our Athletes of the Year for 1993-94. That'll wrap up the broadcast season here on Sportlight. You'll see a repeat of this show next week on Wednesday and Thursday at 7:30. At 7 o'clock. I should remember what time it's on. 7 o'clock p.m. right here on Channel 12. And we'll be back in the fall with some more shows of Sportlight. So for Joanna Brown and Dan Bothwell, and for John Martins and Joe Helper, and I'm Eric Nelson, for the entire crew, have a nice summer, everyone.